Welcome to another edition of Mysteries of the Superstition Mountains. My name is Dave Guggisberg, and I've had a fair amount of experience of hiking and camping in the Superstition Mountains, and today I'm going to tell you a story about one of those times. It's kind of a cautionary tale, one to help people understand what they may run into when they're in the desert Southwest and they're hiking in potentially not friendly weather. So we're going to talk a little bit about flash floods in the Southwest deserts. Now, a lot of people have had a lot of issues with flooding. We recognize that this particular year, there's been flooding all over. The difference between a flash flood and some of the other floods are that those are areas where it's rained continuously for quite a long time, and they're used to having, running rivers and everything else. In flash floods, typically they happen in dry washes where there's no water, and when they do show up, it shows up huge, and then it disappears rapidly. But if you're there when it's huge, it can be very life-threatening, and so it's not something that is expected. And that's why you need to be very careful in the desert Southwest if there's weather involved and there may be potentially rain. So this episode is about a scout outing that we took in April of 2007. And we went from the trailhead on the Superstition Mountains, which starts on the north side, which runs from the trailhead called First Water, Second Water. We go past First Water and then go on to Second Water. Now, right after you go past the First Water marker on the trail, which you can see some of the scouts standing around here, you go into a wash. And this is where we're going to focus our attention, other than the fact that it's a rainy hike all the way around, and you'll see some other pictures of how sloppy wet the trailhead or the trail can get. So this is an overview of the area we're talking about. You'll notice that the item number 1 is where the trailhead parking lot is. You'll see item number 2. That's where the river and the trailhead meet, and the trail goes across the wash. And then item number 3, just to give you an orientation, is where the trail continues. So if you look from the lower right up towards the upper left, or maybe not high up, but just kind of horizontally across there, you can see that river channel. It's very, very prominent and very easy to see. So this is where all of the concern activity takes place. So from Google Earth map, you can see what the river bottom normally looks like. You can see how dry it is, you can see all the rocks in there, and you can see the trail just moves right across that wash right there. Now we're going to move into some pictures of what it looks like, and the rain occurred just a few hours earlier in the morning, probably over 2 o'clock to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And so by the time we got there around 7 o'clock in the morning, you can see what that wash looks like. I mean, it's absolutely ferocious, and there's absolutely no way we were going to try and cross there. That was a surefire way of getting somebody drowned. So that's how rapidly those rivers can expand from being absolutely nothing into a very dangerous wash. Now, we wanted to continue our hike, and so what we decided to do, and it turned out to work out well, is that wash is fairly narrow, but if you go on upstream, up to the right, that it widens out, and it doesn't get as deep, and it's not flowing quite as fast. So we went up and scouted a few areas. You can see one of the adults, checking out where we think we want to cross. And it's a little above his calves, or a little above his ankles, not his calves. And, so it wasn't too bad. The water isn't flowing terribly quickly, but we stretched the rope across and had the adults take each scout individually across so that we could be as safe as possible and make sure we were okay. So that's kind of what the main thrust is here, is the issues that you run into when you're hiking in the desert Southwest, and the way flash floods can really affect what you're doing. Now, just to continue on, there'll be a few pictures we'll show here. You can kind of get an idea, but the trail gets really, really wet and muddy. You can see where the water is running right down the trail. You have to walk through the water, and you have to walk through puddles and a little mud puddles. You know, it gets to be pretty grim at times. But we were young scouts, you know, they were having a good time. They were getting muddy, and I mean, what else do scouts do? They like to go out and get muddy and have a good time. So you can see how they're having a good time, splashing around in the waters and, you know, playing on the trail. There is a picture of us at the very end where we're all sitting down at Second Water, taking a breather before we head back. Now, the key thing here on the going back is, you know, you can see some of the waterfalls and things like that that we saw while we were on the trail. But when we got back to the wash, it had probably been 4 or 5 hours that we were out there. You notice how the water had dropped. And that's one of the safety issues. If you run into a flash flood, you know, you might just set aside for a little while and just let it wash through, because once the rain has stopped, the flash flood will dissipate fairly rapidly. And so while it was still a fair amount of water in the wash there around the rocks, you can see that, you know, we could safely cross there. The kids were having a good time splashing around in it, you know, wading through it and then getting out and wading through it again and getting out and wading through it again. And so we were all having a great time. But this is just a cautionary tale to help you understand some of the things you might want to worry about when you're in places like the Superstition Mountains and there's been rain recently, that, you know, you might just have a backup plan, or maybe even just plain back up and go back the way you came and just do it another day. Here's another version of it where I put a red circle around the area that has all the flooding in it, and you can see, you know, how the trailhead crosses right there, or the trail crosses right there. The blue line is where we hiked up to actually rope the kids across. And so this will help you be more oriented in terms of where we were on the trail and where we were crossing the river. You notice it's nice and broad and wide right there. So while flash floods can be very beautiful as long as you don't get caught in them, they're not beautiful if you're caught in them. But while they can be real beautiful, they can be fun, but you need to be cautious around them. And this is why this becomes yet another mystery of the Superstition Mountains.
Thank you for watching this episode of Mysteries of the Superstition Mountains.